Roger Smith started at General Motors in 1949 as an accounting clerk. Not an engineer, not a designer, not someone who understood what made a car worth building. He was a man who understood what a car cost. He became treasurer by 1970, executive vice president of finance by 1974, and chairman and CEO in 1981. An accountant ran the largest automaker in the world for 9 years, and by the time he left, General Motors' share of the American car market had fallen from 46% to 35%. More cars were canceled, more factories were closed, and more engineering talent walked out the door during his tenure than in any other period in the company's history. Roger Smith did not crash test cars. He crash tested the company. When Smith took over in 1981, GM had just posted its first annual loss since the 1920s. The company was bleeding money, losing market share to Toyota and Honda for the first time, dealing with lawsuits over putting Chevrolet engines in Oldsmobiles, and struggling with quality problems that were becoming a national joke. Smith looked at the balance sheet and decided that the solution was not better cars. It was reorganization. In 1984, he demolished the divisional structure that had been GM's greatest competitive advantage since the 1920s. Alfred Sloan had built General Motors around a simple idea. Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick, and Cadillac would each operate as semi-autonomous divisions with their own engineers, their own designers, and their own identity. A buyer would start with a Chevrolet, move to a Pontiac as their income grew, then to an Oldsmobile, a Buick, and finally a Cadillac. Each step up felt like an achievement. Each brand had a personality that was different from the others. This system turned General Motors into the largest corporation on Earth and held over 50% of the American market through the 1960s. Roger Smith looked at that system and saw redundancy. He combined the divisions into two groups: CPC for Chevrolet, Pontiac, and General Motors of Canada to build small cars, BOC for Buick, Oldsmobile, and Cadillac to build large cars. The reorganization was supposed to cut costs and create efficiency. Instead, it created chaos. Engineers who had spent careers at one division were suddenly reassigned. The CPC group was building Cadillacs. The BOC group was building Pontiacs. Informal relationships that had made General Motors function for 60 years were severed overnight. Product development froze for 18 months. The reorganization added costs instead of cutting them because both new groups hired their own management, marketing, and engineering staffs, duplicating everything the divisions already had. It took almost a decade to undo the damage. But the worst part was not the reorganization itself, it was what it did to the cars. When every division shared the same platforms, the same engines, and the same interiors, the brands stopped meaning anything. A Pontiac Grand Am looked like a Buick Skylark, looked like an Oldsmobile Calais, looked like a Chevrolet Corsica. 4 different nameplates, 4 different dealership networks, 4 different advertising budgets, 1 car with 4 grills. The 1985 Cadillac Cimarron was the most embarrassing example. General Motors took a Chevrolet Cavalier, added leather seats and a Cadillac badge, raised the price by several $1,000s, and expected luxury buyers to accept it. They did not. The Cimarron became a symbol of everything wrong with General Motors' approach. It told customers that the company viewed its own brand hierarchy as a pricing trick, not a product difference. Buyers noticed. Why pay more for a Buick when the Chevrolet underneath it was identical? The ladder that Sloan built, where customers climbed from brand to brand as they earned more money, collapsed because every rung felt the same. While the brands were rotting from the inside, Smith was spending billions on everything except cars. He bought electronic data systems from Ross Perot for $2.5 billion in 1984. He bought Hughes Aircraft for $5 billion in 1985. He invested heavily in factory robots and automation that did not work properly. A division of Hughes Electronics eventually developed DirecTV. General Motors, a car company, spent billions of dollars that could have gone into better engines, better styling, and better interiors, and instead helped launch a satellite television service. Meanwhile, Toyota was spending that same money on the Lexus LS400, a car that would redefine what quality meant for every automaker in the world. Smith retired in 1990. Michael Moore made a documentary about him called Roger and Me, which became one of the most successful documentaries in history. General Motors board fired Smith's successor, Robert Stempel, just 2 years later. They brought in John Smale as chairman. Smale had retired as chairman of Procter & Gamble, the company that sells Tide laundry detergent and Crest toothpaste. He believed General Motors' problem was not engineering, it was marketing. Smale hired Ron Zarella from Bausch & Lomb, a company that makes contact lenses, to run General Motors' North American operations. Zarella had never worked in the automotive industry. His philosophy was brand management, the same approach Procter & Gamble used to sell soap. Instead of investing in better products, the strategy was to market the existing products harder. Do not update the Cavalier, market the Cavalier brand. The result was predictable. General Motors' market share dropped from 33% when Zarella arrived in 1994 to 28% by 2002. Products designed for everyone appealed to no one. The body count from the accounting era is staggering. Oldsmobile, the brand that sold 632,742 cutlasses in a single year, and that was the third brand in General Motors history to break 1 million annual sales, was discontinued in 2004. Pontiac, the brand that created the muscle car with the GTO and rose to number 3 in America behind only Chevrolet and Ford, was erased in 2010. The last Pontiac was a white G6 sedan, and it ended with no ceremony. Saturn, the division that General Motors built from scratch with its own factory in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and with customers who held annual reunions at the plant, was starved of investment and shut down. Hummer was sold and then closed. Saab was sold and then went bankrupt. The Chevrolet Cavalier was never properly replaced. The Pontiac Fiero was canceled just as the third generation was about to fix everything wrong with the first two. The Chevy El Camino, the Avalanche, the SSR, and the Silverado SS were all discontinued without replacements. Every one of those decisions was made by someone looking at a spreadsheet, not a steering wheel. The engineers at General Motors knew how to build great cars. They proved it with the GTO, the Corvette, the Buick Grand National, the Pontiac Fiero GT, the Cadillac CTS Vi, and the Chevrolet SS. Every time General Motors engineering teams were given freedom and resources, they built something people wanted. And every time, someone in a conference room on the 14th floor of the Renaissance Center looked at the margins, looked at the volume projections, and said it was not worth continuing. Roger Smith started as an accounting clerk. He ended as the man who took a company with 53% of the American market and left it limping toward bankruptcy. The engineers built the cars, the accountants ended them, and General Motors has spent the last 30 years trying to undo the damage that 1 decade of spreadsheet thinking created.